Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to How to Make Social Media Hustle for Your Business in 2019. Um, I think everybody who is going to join us has joined us by now, so we're going to get started. I understand that you can all hear me and that you should be able to see a presentation in front of you. And if that is not the case, please let me know through the chat function. I can't actually see the chat function from the view I have of the screen at the moment. I will check in at the end and maybe sort of, 15 minutes into it in case there are any problems. But I understand that we are ready to go. So, social media. Well, first I'll introduce myself. My name is not, by the way, Rakash Mashandu or whatever it says there. That is an administrative mistake. My name is Niamh Lynch. My company is Clockwork Blog. And if you want to get in touch with me after the event, you can send me an email or check out the website at your leisure. What we are going to do today is have a look at these questions. First of all, we're going to take a quick look at how social media has changed over the last 3 years. I feel that it has changed significantly more in the last 3 years than it has changed in the past, say, 10 to 12 years. And then we're going to look at what I consider to be the most important questions to ask yourself before starting on a new social media strategy, or even taking a hard look at the social media strategy you already have and deciding whether or not it's working. So the most important thing to do in that case is to decide what it is that you or your company wants from social media. And just underneath, I've got a few examples of the kind of thing that people tend to decide that they want from their social media. Then we are going to have a look at the all-important question of picking your poison, what social media platform you're actually going to choose to use. And when we are taking that into consideration, we're going to take a very close look at your resources as a small business versus the reach that you're hoping that your social media platform is going to have. And then at the very end, I'm going to give you my magical social media recipe for success, which if you read the small print isn't really magical and it's not guaranteed. But that, excuse me, I'm just recovering from a cold, but that is what we are dealing with in this day and age. The premise, this is, the pencil is misleading. You don't have to take it down. This is just why I've decided to speak about this today, and so you have a little bit of an idea of my background. I've been working with social media for the last 10 years, or a bit more than 10 years. And I've seen it from lots of different aspects. I've managed social media for a huge multinational technology company. I've then advised businesses, small and medium-sized businesses, on their use of social media and helped them create social media strategies for their businesses. Myself, as a small business, I have created my own social media strategy and used it. And then obviously I've used social media as a consumer. And the reason that I think it's necessary to help people with it is because, especially bearing in mind the change that has happened over the last 3 years or so, the advice that manages to make its way to small businesses is often, it misses the mark in two extremes. On one side, you've got the people who are giving information who don't realize how much it has changed in the last 3 years, and they're giving information that might have been okay to use sort of 5 or 6 years ago, but it isn't up to scratch these days. Or it goes completely in the opposite direction and aims way too high and gives advice that would be more appropriate for a medium-sized growing company, a growing startup that might even have, staff dedicated to social media, or at least a specific marketing function. And it's getting into complicated things like retargeting and ads and advanced strategy. And it's going over the heads of people who have yet to just get a solid grasp on, let's say, the entry level for social media for their business. Throughout this presentation, there are two things that I want you to bear in mind. I think these are essential for the success of social media for your business. if it isn't something that's already occurred to you, social media is for the long haul. If the last 10 years or 12 years haven't proven it to us, I do not believe that social media is going anywhere anytime soon. It may change. Players might come on the stage, other old players might leave the stage, but social media is not going anywhere. And you might get lucky and you might come to this webinar and then do a little bit of research afterwards and come up with a strategy that absolutely nails social media for your business. And likewise, you might implement some of the things we talk about here today, and you might chip away at it for the next year, trying to get to know your audience and trying to find points with which you can relate to them and identify with them. And it might take you a year, it might take you longer than a year, but that is not a problem, because this isn't going away. This is something that you have to master for this business, perhaps for businesses in the future. And it's obviously will start bringing benefits. The sooner you get a handle on it, the sooner it'll start bringing you benefits, but it's not going anywhere. So don't worry if this isn't something that you manage to nail in the next month or two. That is perfectly okay. And you should seek to find this holy grail, which is the personal connection with your audience, because that is where it's going. And I from looking at how it's changed, I think it's only going to become more, it's going to become more relevant as time goes on, as the algorithms change and they get more capable of determining whether or not there is a real relationship between the two ends in the social media relationship, whether it's a genuine relationship, you know, in algorithm terms. But still, I think it's only going to keep going that way. So it might take a while to find the holy grail, which is a way of connecting with your audience, but I think it's going to be worth it in the short term and worth it for the long term. So you should keep at it. And secondly, always bear in mind that social media is not marketing. It is a small part of a marketing arsenal. It is one tool among many marketing tools. This is something that escapes people all the time. And the problem with it is that by solely focusing on social media marketing, you are neglecting other parts of your marketing strategy. And you know, it depends on the business. Some businesses will find that social media is a very important part of their marketing strategy. But until you have proof that is so, you need to keep it in its place and keep it in the controlled, compact place that it should be when you're starting out, until it has proven itself as being worthy of more of your time and attention. The problem with social media is that it is, no matter whether or not you've been using it for business, it's very familiar to everyone and it's very accessible. And it's very easy to get stuck in there 100% and let it suck up an incredible amount of your time. And you'll find that you don't have any time left to do whatever it is that your business is not posting on social media. Your business is your business. And you'll find you don't have any time left for your business, or you don't have any time left for other types of marketing actions. And that will leave you at a disadvantage. So that is the first one is, don't worry if this takes a while for you to nail. And the second one is, keep social media in its place. It's part of a well-rounded marketing strategy. It is not a marketing strategy in and of itself. Obviously, if it proves its worth in the long term, you can devote more resources to it. But until it has proven itself, keep it in its place. I am just going to momentarily come out of this screen and just check back once to make sure nobody has asked me any questions. So excuse me here. I didn't think anybody's asked me any questions. Okay, no, I think we're good. Okay, when I was doing up this presentation, I went and I just had a quick look at some examples of non-social media marketing strategies that any type of business could try. And it struck me that if you do have a well-rounded marketing strategy, and obviously it depends on the kind of business and the role that social media plays, but speaking theoretically, if you have a well-rounded marketing strategy, you could stop doing social media completely And in the ideal circumstances, your business would continue on just as successful as when it did have social media in place. Now, I'm not saying that this is what you should do. I'm just saying that just make sure that it doesn't occupy more of your mind and more of your resources than it should do. I had a look for some other ideas of non-social media marketing ideas. I found two sweet little lists, one of which were online ideas, and they suggested things like growth hacking, which is quite advanced, not for beginners, referral programs. If you have a product, that can be an absolutely great way. You've got your earned media, you've got PR, you've got networking events, search engine marketing, which is related to social media marketing, but not the same thing. And then a lovely little list of non-online ideas. And again, depending on your business, this might be very valid. You should not neglect it just because the world is increasingly digital. There are still people on the streets. Retargeting, business cards, creating pamphlets that you might hand out, going to trade shows, sending cards on seasonal events, community engagement, getting out there, sponsoring things, appearing at community shows and things, and leaving branded items in key locations. So, you know, there are loads of ideas out there. In fact, here in Barcelona, I went to the library the other day and found in English, in the library, in the business section, 101 fantastic marketing ideas for your bricks and mortar business. So there is no shortage of things that are not social media that you can be investing into your marketing plan. So, so how social media has changed in the last 3 years in comparison to how it's been going for the last 10 years or thereabouts. Excuse me. I like to call it sort of 2009 to 2015 period is painting by numbers. You know, that that thing that children do. All your number ones are red and all your number twos are blue. Because the way social media worked to basically to increase your reach and your engagement, to get you being seen by more people, there was a series of rules for each platform, and then a series of sort of, what would you call them, a series of formulas, one for each of the different social media platforms. And if you checked all of the boxes in this formula, or if you filled in all of the gaps in this formula, there was a really good chance that lots and lots of people would see your content and would see the posts that you were putting out on social media. You had to manipulate things like hashtags and character limits, and beyond simply how many words you were allowed to have in an update, how many words were then optimal for the update. You had to play around with the number and type of images, emojis or no emojis, power verbs, different formats, different types of content. You know, listicles did really well on Twitter, for example, and not on other things. The number of times a week that you posted. And each platform had its rules. And if you followed those rules, there was a really good chance that lots and lots of people would see you on social media. But 2016, 2017, things started to change. I think there was a really big jump in the technological ability, or the processing function of the algorithms that are used to determine what is seen on the internet and what is not seen on the internet. And you could see the changes to these algorithms across the internet, not just in social media. You could see it in search, and you could see it at SEO and in lots of other places. But the algorithms got tweaked, they got better, they got more advanced, and they were more able to determine what factors feed into something looking like a business or a person talking to their audience, really forming a relationship with the people who follow them on social media. They found an algorithmic way to quantify authenticity and genuine conversation and genuine interaction between people. And that really changed everything. And it meant, above all, that we can no longer just tick the boxes and push out content and hope for it to have an impact, especially when we don't have the luxury of hundreds or tens of thousands of social media followers. Because, you know, if you've got enough followers, It doesn't really matter what you're doing. Some of them will hit home and some people will click through. But when you're looking at having, you know, between several hundred and maybe the low thousands of followers, it does matter how the algorithms see you interacting with those people. The kind of concepts that gained ground in the way people spoke were concepts like authenticity and the different nuances of branding, the very big buzzword of storytelling and story-based marketing, and all of those kind of things. But what they are the way that we verbally represent the change in the algorithms, which is that personal relationships and the personal touch is being prized by the algorithms. Now, unfortunately, it's much more difficult to just tick all of those boxes and get your super popular, super high reach, super high engagement, I'm doing air quotes here in front of the computer, viral content. It's much harder to get that. But I really don't think that's a loss to anybody, because before your reach could be huge, but the number of people that you were reaching who would actually then become your customers could be very, very, very small indeed. So now you're less likely to reach these thousands and thousands and thousands of social media followers or social media audience. But the people who you do reach and the people who you reach on a regular basis, I feel personally, are much more likely to actually become your clients in the future. So it's not all bad. So bearing in mind how it's changed and understanding that, for want of a better word, authentic and personal touch has really been ramped up in importance. How do we make social media work for our businesses? Before we look at the smaller questions of what platform to choose and when we should post and what we should say, it is absolutely essential that you decide what it is you want from social media. Excuse me, because I've had a cold, I'm getting hoarse more than usual, so I need to keep sipping on my tea to keep to keep everything going. The food for thought here, the building authority, increasing appointments, driving traffic, and promoting a service. They're just to give you an idea. There are sort of four of, so off the top of my head, the most popular things that people might want their social media to do. The main point here, and I should actually have put build authority at the end because that's the hardest one to extract from your social media. But on the upside, it is something that tends to happen as a side effect if you are, say, producing content with a general view to increasing appointments. If you're putting out good content and you're managing your social media channels with skill, there's a good chance that you will be building authority as a side effect of just your normal activity on social media. Building authority, I mean, I'm sure the concept of authority is very well known. Building authority just means that the people who are following you, or your audience, trust you to be able to deliver on what it is you're claiming to be able to deliver. They trust that you know about what it is that you're talking about. Once we've decided what it is that you want from social media, you will be able to ensure that there is focus and consistency. We'll talk about that in a second because that's an important part in and of itself. But excuse me. What I'm saying here is not that every single individual post you put out on social media, let's say that we want to increase appointments. I'm not saying that every single post you put out on social media should be trying to force people or funnel people or channel them to increasing appointments. But when you look at your social media outlook as a whole, if somebody is likely to take a step further in your business from your social media platforms, you want to make sure that 90% of the time that is going to be to a place that will help you further appointment booking, traffic to a given a given property, you know, like a blog or a homepage or promoting a service. So you need to pick what it is that 90% of the people who click on the links that you give them are going to end up. And then it's not only important to decide where it is that 90% of these people are going to end up, it's important to know what's going to happen after that. So hopefully you have a fairly solid sales funnel in place in your business. Well, you need to take your social media and you need to see where it fits in that sales funnel. So you need to know where the people are coming from. They're coming through the funnel of your social media and they're being popped out into the next the next stage. And then when they reach that next stage, where do they go from there? While I was, no, I don't want to delay too much, but while I was researching this webinar, I thought about an online property that I really enjoy interacting with. I'm their marketing team's absolute dream client, because I realized that I get their email newsletter once a week. I follow them on Instagram and I also follow them on Facebook. But when I looked to see what links and where they are trying to funnel people to on their social media platforms, literally 90% of every link, so it's a step to a next destination, 90% of their links are to their blog. And their blog is, their website is effectively a blog. There are a very small number of static pages, but the rest of it is a combination of, actually I should have pointed that out in the first place. It is a branch of the Penguin publishing house, and they publish a huge number of the, and a big majority of cookbooks in English, non-American cookbooks in English are published by these people. And the Happy Foodie is a blog slash website, very few static pages. The vast majority of them are blog style recipes from the books, or articles that are, you know, collecting a certain type of recipe, you know, like 5 dishes to make with winter chard or something like that. So they're all blog posts effectively, and 90% of the links on their social media link to that blog. And on that blog, there are literally about 20 opportunities in a very discreet way, a very classy way, but there are about 20 opportunities to buy books on those blog posts. Now, the blog posts are hugely useful in and of themselves, but ultimately what they want people to do, I presume, I'm not in on their actual strategy, but their ultimate goal is to get people to buy the cookbooks. And that is how you see how they move people along. Just see that maybe we have another person. Hi, Claudia, welcome. So we're just saying there, oh no, we want to go back one now. Sorry, I'm just trying to make this little window go away. So yes, it's not that every single individual post is going to try and push somebody towards your final destination in a less, that sounds a bit intimidating, you know what I mean, where you ultimately want people to go. It's not that every single post has to try and push them that way. 100% of the content on your social media should make people feel like you get them. They are your people. You understand them. You know what makes them happy. You know what makes them smile. And that can be vast. You just have to look at the variety of social media out there. There are posts that shock you and posts that really hit you on an emotional level, or, you know, accounts that hit you on an emotional level, ones that make you laugh, ones that make you covet the things that they have on it. You know, it's a whole loads of ways that you can do this. You want to make 100% of the people who visit your social media happy and feel like part of your tribe. But if they are going to take a next, and they should be happy just coming to your social media platform, you know, because they feel happy there. They like the content, they like it. And if they want to take a next step, that you are pushing them towards whatever it is that you want from social media. 90% of their ability to take a next step should be to the thing that you have designated as the goal of your social media. So that is the very first thing. And before you start making any other smaller decisions about your social media, what platform, how often will I post, any of that stuff, you need to know what it is that 90% of the ongoing traffic from your social media, where they are going and why, and what they will do once they arrive there. Okay? Oop, doesn't like that. Okay, so we're going to move on to picking your poison, which is just precisely that. It's what network do we want to pick? The basic question here is, what network should you use for your business and how often should you post on it? Other questions that are very important to ask yourself before you make this decision are, do you need or do you have multiple networks that need attention? And what are you sharing on it? Because very often there is some description of content marketing that is closely linked to social media. So you would be producing content to share. Now, obviously, because these two things are linked, you have to take your ability to produce content or to get the stuff that you are, maybe it's just photos or, you know, whatever, but you have to take into account your ability, your resources to create this content before you decide how many networks and how often you're going to share, because you are exponentially increasing your level of work if you pick three networks and you're going to share every day and you're going to produce blog posts on a regular basis to share on these networks. That's a vast amount of work for one person. It's even a vast amount of work for a small team of, say, 10. You need to start hiring specific content and social media people if you want to be able to do that, which is, you know, you need to come at it from that way. Don't think, I like Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube, and then I will think about how I populate them with content. No, you need to think about your resources first and what you can reasonably do. The kiss of death in picking social media platforms is feeling like you should be present on any given network. This changes vastly depending on your business and what social media presence you have already in place. But I would be very, you know, it used to be kind of standard that a business would have maybe Facebook and Twitter, and then maybe one of another, maybe also Instagram, also Pinterest, also YouTube, something like that. Given the amount of sort of personal work that needs to be put into creating a vibrant social media channel these days, I would say that unless you have information that would lead you to believe otherwise, I would pick only one social media network. You no longer need to have a Twitter account and need to have a Facebook account. What you need is one that you can funnel your focus and consistency into. And then later down the road, you might find that there is now room and need for another network. Also, if you find that, you know, you are thinking about just having one network and concentrating all of your efforts on that network, and you think, yeah, but I do also have a Facebook account for my business, and, you know, should I abandon it or what happens? That's a decision that only you can make. You can start trying to, like, let's say you've decided to go with Instagram, but you also have a Twitter account and a Facebook account. You can try to funnel all of your users over to your new Instagram account. I would take a very close look and see if any of those people on Facebook and Twitter are actually converting as customers, if they're actually making their way to the next step in the plan. Very often you'll find that they're not, in which case I would literally just stop using them. You know, it's not like Facebook will ping all of your users and say, oh, these people are slacking. you'll just fade from their environment, you know. Same on Twitter. It's not like anything is going to happen. It's just simply that you will stop appearing more and more. And you can always, you know, pin a post saying, you know, hi. If somebody goes, oh, you know who I haven't seen online for a while, and they come over to your profile, you can always pin a post, or, you know, or whatever, however it might work on that platform, saying, you know, we're investing more effort over on Instagram or whatever it is at the moment. Why don't you come over and see what we're getting up to over there? It's not something that would worry me at all. What platform? I am going to go out on a limb, and I am going to say that in the absence of any other information, in the absence of you having any more feelings on things, in the absence especially of you having any more data on things, data that means that you know that something is working for your business, I would just pick Instagram. Now, Instagram isn't going to work for everybody. Facebook will be better for some people, but Instagram works for a huge number of people. And the reason that I like it is because it's very visual, which is something that it's easy for people to get behind. It's attractive and it's easy. There's no restrictions on the texts that you can use to accompany your update. You can put very short and sweet little bits of copy with them, or you can write, you know, like things that frankly look a bit like a blog post. I mean, they're really, there's paragraphs going on here, you know, they're long. So you can use that space as you see fit for your business. It's the audiences on Instagram are quite engaged at the moment. That might change as time goes on, but they're quite engaged at the moment. It's very easy to run ads on Instagram, and they have a great video function. And obviously video is huge and it's great for engagement. It has a solid video component to it that you can use. So yeah, all things being equal, I like Instagram. If you know, if one is as good as another, I would go with that. But obviously, take your own business and your own needs into account. But be really, really wary of overextending yourself. Be really aware that the way to make progress on social media is to create this personal feeling. And you can't do that if you're spread out over 6 different social media platforms. That is the worry with having too many, that you're going to dilute yourself. You're not going to do any one thing correctly. You know, it's going to be a diluted effect. And never feel like you should. I firmly believe that there is no one social media network these days that is essential for business. There's nothing unmissable. You can make any of them work, and the one that I think is easiest to make work is Instagram. Okay, now the magical social media recipe for success. Okay. The sad news about this is that there used to be, you know, I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit facetious, but there used to actually be a recipe for success. I could have made a formula for people. Put this in here and then put that in there, and then, you know, cross-reference what platform it is and put 6 of these and 2 of these and 1 of these and send it out there, and you're going to succeed. These days, success is brought by making an effort to understand your people. You have to think of them as your people, your tribe, and you have to really be interested in their well-being. And this is why it's so important to believe in your product or your service when you're on social media, because, and why it's difficult often at this beginning stage to delegate it to somebody else, because you have to really believe that what you're offering them is what they need, and it is what is good for them, you know, and it's what will help them. And as long as you genuinely want to get to know these people and you genuinely feel that you can help them, I maintain that consistency and focus will actually allow you to get quite far in the social media landscape. So, all things being equal, this is what I would do if I wanted to either reboot my social media or if I wanted to start from scratch. I would really put a good bit of effort into understanding what you want from social media and why, and how you can envisage a person doing that. And that, it's not that it can never change, it's not that it can't change in the future, but it's really important that you at least make a very good effort to establish what role social media plays in your sales funnel and how you move from the previous step into social media and how you move from social media into the next step, and how from that next step are they going to get to your end goal, which is, you know, selling your product or encouraging people to make appointments or whatever it is in your business. Then pick a platform. If all things are equal, pick Instagram. It's a great platform. I enjoy it. It's popular. It's easy. Once you picked your platform, what I've actually left out of here is make all of the administrative tweaks to it. Set aside an afternoon or a day, no longer. Okay, try not, you know, don't set aside a week to try and figure out where it fits in your sales funnel. Okay, because doing something is better than thinking about something for a really long time. Make all of the administrative tweaks to it. What I mean by, you know, a nice profile picture and that link in your bio being the super important thing, because that is your next step in your sales funnel, effectively. And making sure you have all the settings right, and, you know, you've followed, well, at a very minimum, all of your existing customers or people who, you know, could be your existing customers, all that kind of thing. And then you need to be consistent with your posting. This is one of the biggest stumbling blocks, because people find that if it doesn't happen quickly, they lose motivation, they lose momentum, they fear it's not working, and suddenly you'll find that consistency has really slipped. But consistency is what it needs, because the algorithms that manage all of this, they work on consistency. They need to be fed on a consistent basis. And it doesn't mean that if you feed it once, you're suddenly going to see results. But if you feed it consistently and you get some consistent results for a month, 2 months, 3 months, then is when you are going to see the algorithm sitting up and paying notice to your account. There are several really interesting articles online, and they're entitled things like, I posted on Instagram every day for a month, or I posted on Instagram every day for 2 months, or whatever. You should read them. They provide interesting insight. And I'm not suggesting you should post every day for a month. That's very hard work. I mean, by all means, do it if that appeals to you, but that's not what I'm saying is necessary. But it is interesting to hear those opinions. So you're being consistent, and if you need help with this consistency, find a formula for the posting. So there are 2 options for this. Either you pick a schedule well, there are 3 really. Either you pick your own schedule according to what you think is something that will allow you to be consistent for a good long time. We're talking about, I mean, I would ideally like to see a year of consistent social media platform use before you really have a good feel for it and before you truly know if something is working or not working. And so your first option of these 3 options to ensure consistency: 1, you pick your own schedule according to what you think you'll be able to do for the next 6 months to a year. Secondly, you pick a schedule that somebody else has before you, and I'm going to give you one in a second, just, you know, because it's as good as the next one. And thirdly, you can do something like post every day for a month, or something like that. If you look on Pinterest especially, you will find various bits of content that are called like Instagram ideas, like for a month or something like that. And some of them are really simple and you won't find them appropriate for your business at all, but some of them are a bit more sophisticated, and some of them work nicely for lots of different businesses, whereby on day 1 you post a picture of the view from your desk, and on day 2 you post a picture of what you had for lunch, and on day 3 you post a picture of your cat, and on day 4 what you had for dinner, and so on. You'd want to put a block on this. It's not something you want to do for the rest of your time on social media, but it can be really helpful to, first of all, to populate your account with content so that it looks established, to change the feel of an account if you already have an account but you want to change in aesthetic or a change in direction, by flooding it with content for a month. It means no matter how far back, well, within reason, people can scroll back quite a fair bit and they'll see the new stuff rather than the old stuff. And it can give you a feel for what your capabilities are. You might not be aware at the moment what is too much or too little when it comes to establishing a posting schedule. So it'll give you a good idea as to what is right for you. Instagram especially likes a feel, which I guess is point 4 and 5 are related to this. Instagram likes a feel. If you look at some of the best, most active Instagram accounts, you'll see that most of the pictures, they either have a feel in the sense that, one post will be an actual picture and the next one will be a motivational slogan. Next one will be a picture of motivational, or there are a million ways of creating a feel for your account, and you'll get lots of help online if you need help with it. Some people just always use the same filter or the same 2 filters, or even if you don't consider yourself a very artistic person, over time you will find that you develop your own feel. I noticed it on my own personal Instagram account a little while ago, that even though I am one of the least artistic people I know, I do have a feel on my account, and I tend to produce new content that is in line with that feel without even thinking about it. But people will, something's appeared here at the side. Oh, and it's gone away again. That was alarming. For anybody who came late, you might have missed that. I can't see messages in the view that I'm in, but I will go back over and see if you have any messages pretty much in the next 5 minutes, because we need to be out of here on time. But I said, I got your feedback last time, but what I said had to listen to me for hours on end last time. So I will keep this to the hour, I promise. Getting the feel, the aesthetic feel for your account is all in line with getting to know your audience, which is also something that will happen through focus and consistency. It's like getting to know a person. You just have to keep going for cups of coffee with them until you get to know them better. It's the same with your social media. You just have to keep posting to them and interacting with them until you get a feel for who they are and what they like and what is important to them. As part of that, getting your feel, you're going to make decisions about things like hashtags and what you take pictures of. I listened to a very interesting interview quite a long time ago, and I tried to find it today so I could get the specifics of it, and I couldn't. But it was a woman who is very popular on Instagram, and she posts 3 times a week. And she has categories for each day. So let's say she posts Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mondays are pictures in and around her and her family. Wednesdays are pictures in and around her and her business. So obviously they're different every week, but that is the theme of them. And yeah, in and around her business. And on Fridays, it's in and around her natural environment. Now, I'm not suggesting that's ideal for everybody, but that is an idea of the kind of consistency leading into getting to know your people that I'm talking about. I said I would give you a suggested schedule. It doesn't really fit into any of my rest of my points, so I'm just going to give it to you. How about trying posting 3 times a week, either taking from one of those posting ideas for a month productions and, just picking a day, every one of your days, or making up your own schedule or your own suggestion of posts, or just taking it, if you're already a sort of a creative person and Instagram comes fairly easily to you, just taking it as it comes and seeing what comes out of your initial tries. So 3 times a week with a post, 2 times a week with stories. Stories can be, first of all, they can make you very uncomfortable if you're not used to them, but they can be absolutely key for interacting with your people. I have also seen people, you know, if you sell, I don't know, baby clothes on Etsy, it's a gold mine for Instagram content, you know, it's really, but when other people have other less, you know, visually appealing businesses, it can be hard to come up with ideas for how to visually represent your not so visual business. Stories are a great place where you can do that, because it is all about giving knowledge, giving things, giving expert knowledge to people for free is basically what it is about. And stories can be a great place to do that. I follow a pediatrician on Instagram, and 2 or 3 times a week she comes on and she discusses a common problem, a common health problem with children. And right there in her bio is her link to make an appointment at her clinic, and she has thousands, well over 20,000 followers on Instagram, because she has realized that whereas she might not be able to take lovely pictures of, you know, baby booties, she can provide information that people really want to get their hands on. And the last 2 again are related. The momentum is really, really, really important. Until you have proof that you can do it differently, pick a schedule, maybe this 3 times a week and the 2 stories, and keep at it. You may not see results for a long time. You may not see the results that you want for a long time, but you are constantly learning about your audience. You're constantly learning about your people. And most people will be able to refine and tweak and make changes that will make it more and more successful. But the important thing is the consistency. You have to keep doing it. This is not something that you are just going to solve in a month of posting. This is something, like I said before, that we're looking at 6 months, we're looking at a year. And my last point came from talking to somebody yesterday, and they said, well, what if I can't do those 3 times a week and the 2 stories? What if I don't have the resources to do that? If you need to downsize, downsize. None of this is written in stone. If you need to do it twice a week on 1 story, once a week on 1 story, do it, but keep the momentum, keep doing it. Whatever you decide to do, keep doing it, because that is what will make the algorithms happy. Okay, and that is where I will leave it for today. And I'm going to come back over to the other thing in case I have. All right. Okay, I think I'm looking at all of your chats. Questions? Does anybody have any questions? Anybody have anything that they want to go back over? I think I'm seeing everything from you. Not a single question for me. Nobody wants to shout at me and say, but you didn't think about this. I can't do that. The bottom line for me anyway is the consistency. Keep doing it. The focus, know why you're doing it and where you are trying to direct people to, and understanding that the personal touch is what you are going for. Yeah, absolutely. But I said, because I have seen people and they post, and it's not as easy on Instagram because unless you have a lot of followers, you can't post links you can't post links in your text. You can only post the link in your bio. Right? When you get bigger, you can do it. But I have seen people on other social networks, and it is a different link to a different part of their website or a different part of their online ecosystem every single time. it's hit and miss as to whether or not somebody will get the link that brings them to the place that is going to make the difference for your business. You know, it's a mistake I've made personally myself before, giving people too much choice. Don't give them choice. If your website is well designed, if you lead them to your blog, for example, they should be able, if they for whatever reason really need to find their way to your about page, or they really need to find the way to your impressum or something, they'll be able to find it themselves, you know. Give them the ability to go somewhere else, but think of them like sheep. You need to herd them, not all around your field. You need to herd them into the little container where they will be shorn. But also it says people think they need to write 2 posts a week or Instagram every day, but they can't follow it. Exactly. Less is more. Don't stress yourselves out. Don't forget that there's the rest of your business to look after. Social media is not, in 99% of cases, social media is not your business. It is part of your business, part of your marketing strategy. So don't stress yourself out. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't forget about the rest of your business. So always do it within boundaries. Set yourself boundaries and stay there. Don't expand unless you know there's a good reason to expand. Absolutely. Do most of you are most of you thinking of starting afresh for your businesses, or are you thinking about making a change to an existing one, or are you just thinking at the moment you're not going to make any moves? I wasn't sure at what stage in their journey people would come to this webinar, if they were people who hadn't started or people who wanted to make a change. Right. Well, that is, say you're in a good place, because you can literally start from nothing and make it exactly what you want it to be. And what I didn't say, actually, I think I neglected to say it, in my entirely optional, entirely suggested schedule of 3 posts, 2 stories, and then the other thing that I was going to say was in interaction with your audience when you get the chance. I was going to say once a day in the evening, because that's when I do Instagram personally, sitting on the couch. But some people will like to do it more frequently. They'll like to do it, you know, morning, noon, and night. But you know, not literally morning, noon, and night, because you've got the rest of your business to deal with as well. And Claudia says, I'm starting a new business, so I'm starting fresh with social media as well. Great place to be. And like I said, people go, is it too late for me? No, it's not too late for you to start. It's a constant now. It's like saying, is it too late for me to, you know, start a business? No, it's not. It's there for the taking. And because it's getting so much more personalized, it's much less likely that you're going to overlap with other businesses, right? Because you know what it is that your business offers people. And that is what you are offering to other people, you know, and it's quite specific to you and your business. So it's there for the taking, which is great. There's an awful lot of advice about social media out there. I would try to be quite picky about what advice I took, and basically what I let into my head. Just concern yourself with what you've decided to do and the reactions you're getting from your audience. Rather than take, you know, it's very easy to read an article or listen to a podcast and say, oh my God, I should be doing that. Exactly. But it does change so much and so fast, which is why I think make a plan and stick to it, and don't rely on all of this advice that's around you to make changes. Rely on the feedback that you're getting from your audience. Admittedly, sometimes you'll be like, I'm not getting enough feedback, I need some, and fine, allow yourself to go and you know, really limit it, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed by everything that's out there. And you start doing something in one way, and then you read something and you go, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't do that, and you start doing it in another way, and then the next day you read something else and you think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that either. It's far too easy to get down that rabbit hole. don't bother with it. Take your feedback from your experience, or take your feedback from personal feedback. Have you seen me on Instagram? What do you think? Any suggestions? Ask a real person. Okay, if nobody has any questions, we'll leave it there and let everybody go on with their day. I really hope you enjoyed that. I really hope it was of use to you, even though my magic social media formula was neither magic nor guaranteed. Here is my details if you wanted to ask me any questions or find out more about me or whatever. It was a pleasure talking to you guys, and all the best with your social media. Feel free to add me to follow me on something, and I will follow you back and offer you advice. And have a great week, and hopefully I will see you again at another webinar in the future. Okay, cheers, girls. Bye bye.